All right, what we want to look at is we want to look at what we call the order of operations. But let's first start talking about dancing. Now, let's say that, we're trying to figure out a dance. In step one, we're going to do 2 steps forward. Step two, 3 steps to the right. Then the third thing we're going to do is 1 step back. And then 4, 2 steps to the left. Well, if we have 10 people on stage that are doing this, if they all follow that sequence, they all look exactly, they're all in perfect harmony, aren't they? But what if somebody messed up and they mixed up steps 2 and 3? They're not going to all be in perfect harmony, are they? They're all going to be doing things differently, and it's going to look awful. We don't want that. Well, the same thing happens in mathematics when we have a bunch of different operations. By operations, we mean multiplying and dividing and all those things. So we have to have an order of operations. So here are what we decided would be the order of operations. Now, believe it or not, we didn't have these till about 120 years ago. Everybody in different countries, they were doing problems differently. Some were multiplying before dividing. Some were doing division, and then they were doing powers and exponents. So we came together and we said, hey, how are we going to do this so that everybody does it the same way? Now, that's very important with computer programs, that the computer program does things in a particular order. So we need order to things, and that's what we have here. With the order of operations, we said, who is the king of the king? Who's the most important? And that was, we said, hey, if you want it done first, we're going to put it in parentheses. So anything in parentheses will always be the first thing you do. You see parentheses, you do what's inside there before anything else. It is the king. It is the champ. It is the guy that has to go first. Number 2, the second thing, after you've done everything in parentheses, you then do exponents. Now, do you remember exponents are things, little powers. So like 2 to the 3rd power, that's an exponent right there. Also back here, parentheses, if you remember, they're sort of your grouping there. So we have those as the 2 top things. First parentheses, after we've done all that, we then look for exponents, powers, and we do that. Then we're going to come to step 3, the third most important thing, multiplication or division. One is not more powerful than the other. They're of the same value. They're both number 3 on the list. So what happens is, as it says, one is not more powerful than the other. So we do them by which came first. So we always work problems left to right, same as we read across a page. So whatever came first, that's who you're going to do, left to right. And we're going to look at an example in a minute. The final weakest thing, 4, add or subtract. And as it says, same rules as above. One is not more powerful than the other. So we do it left to right, whoever came first. That's how we're going to do it. So let's look at some examples. Let's say we have this problem here. So I look at this, I see a multiplication, I see a subtraction, and I see another multiplication. So who are we going to do first? Well, multiply, subtract, multiply. Multiplication is more powerful than subtraction. We have 2 of them. We're going to do the one that came first. Here's the way we like to do this. So we're going to do the 6 times 3 first. That's 18. I'm going to do 1 step at a time. The biggest mistake that happens is you try to do too many things at once. Do one thing at a time. That way, if you make a mistake, it's easy to find. So I did that 1 step. So I'm just going to write down the rest of the problem. Now I look at it, and there's 2 things, a subtraction, a multiplication. Multiplication is more important, so we're going to do 2 times 2. So I'm going to simply do that 2 times 2. So it's going to be 18 minus 2 times 2 is 4. I'm now down to just 1 operation, and 18 minus 4 is 14. So that is the answer to that expression where we had a multiplication, a subtraction, and a multiplication. Again, notice we went from having 3 operations to 2 operations to 1 to just then finally none in the final answer. We're showing our work. That's very important. Here's problem 2, let's say. Now, please notice with parentheses, there's nothing right here with the 3. It's understood that there's multiplication there. Okay? Now, I see a multiplication. I see parentheses right here. I see an exponent right there, and then subtraction right there. So who are we going to do first? Parentheses. It's the most powerful. So we're going to do the 5 minus 3 first. So we have the 3 right there. Then 5 minus 3 is 2. And then the squaring is right there, minus 1. Notice I only did one thing at a time. And now look at it. When you get down to a single number like that 2 that's in parentheses, you can actually drop the parentheses. So if we drop them, we notice that we're going to have a squaring, multiplication, and subtraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do that 2 squared because it is the most powerful. So it's going to go to 3 times 2 squared is 4 minus 1. Now, I have a multiplication and subtraction. So I'm going to do the multiplication first because it is more powerful. So I have 12 minus 1. Final answer, 11. Notice this sort of goes in sort of like a V or a Christmas tree or something. So that helps us see step by step by step by step. It's sort of making it smaller, smaller, smaller until you get to your final answer. Number 3, okay? We have an exponent here, division here, a multiplication understood there. Now there's parentheses around the 3, but since it's by itself, it really doesn't mean anything. And we have an addition sign. So which of those is the most powerful? That's what we have to ask ourselves every single time. Well, that parenthesis is the most powerful, but there's nothing there. So it's just a 3. So really there's no sense in having it. So we're going to go to what is next most powerful, which is the exponent, the 6 squared. 6 times 6 is 36. So we have 36 divided by a 2. That 3 is really just a times 3 plus 4. So we have division, multiplication, addition. Well, this and this are both of the same value. They're both the third most important thing. So which one will we do first? One is not more powerful than the other. So we are going to do whichever one came first, which is the division. 36 divided by 2, that is 18. I then write down the rest of the problem. So I now have a multiplication and an addition. 18 times 3, well, that's 54 plus the 4, and then so I get 58. And again, notice how I sort of have it. One step to the next, to the next, to the next. Okay, the next problem. Now, we have subtraction. We have a bunch of stuff in parentheses, multiplication, and then subtraction. So we're going to do the stuff in the parentheses first. But when we look at this in the parentheses, notice we now have to apply the order of operations inside the parentheses. So we're going to have to decide, are we going to add first or multiply first? Well, who's more powerful? The answer to that, excuse me, is the multiplication. So we're going to do that 3 times 2 first. So I'm simply going to write down 20 minus, here's my parenthesis, 2. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 plus 2 first. Excuse me, 3 times 2 first. That is 6. Times the 2 right here, minus a 1. Still have parentheses. 2 plus 6, we're going to do that first. That's 8 times 2 minus 1. It's very tempting to do 20 minus 8, but we still have a multiplication in the problem. That has to be done next. So 20 minus 16 minus 1. 2 subtraction signs. Same value. We will do them in order left to right. So 20 minus 16 first is 4. Minus 1 and 4 minus 1, 3. And again, notice how it comes down sort of in that nice slice of pizza, the V, the Christmas tree. We can see one step at a time, and it's easy if we made a mistake to find it. Here's problem 5. All right, this is an interesting one. We have parentheses, division, multiplication. Parentheses, obviously the most powerful. Since 4 is outside, please notice that means we're going to do multiplying there. So it's going to be 4 times 3 plus 1 is 4, divided by 2 times 2. Well, notice I have a multiplication, division, and multiplication. They're all of the same value. So we're going to do things in order as we see it, as we read, left to right. So I'll do the 4 times 4 first, which is 16, divided by 2 times 2. 16 divided by 2 is more important than that multiplication because we do it left to right. Actually, not more important. It's just the division multiplication of the same value. We do it in the order in which it came, left to right. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Then multiplied by the 2. So I did this right here. And so I got 8. And then I'm going to multiply by the 2. Gives me a final answer of 16. So these are the order of operations. We have a certain sequence that we must follow, just like dance steps, that we have to follow.